call the meeting to order. Those of us at HQ will go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Approval of agenda. Anybody have any changes? All right. Chair entertains a motion to approve the agenda. Moved by Commissioner Teoflack, seconded by Commissioner Farnahoff. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right. Off to a good start. Consent agenda. Claims vouchers 13462 to 13544 totaling $1,144,772.98. Motion?
Yes.
Commissioner Farnahoff makes a motion to approve the consent agenda. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Teoflack. Any discussion? None appearing. All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. All right. Motion passes. Meeting minutes from the March 14th work session. Any questions? Motion.
I'd make a motion to approve.
So, Commissioner Farnahoff moves to approve the meeting minutes from March 14th work session. Is there a second? Second, by Commissioner Lawrence. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Carries. On to public comment. We have one member online and nobody in the gallery. Do you wish to make a comment? If so, please raise your hand. All right. No public comment tonight. On to the fire chief's report.
Good evening, Chair, Vice Chair, and rest of commissioners, public. As you know, Thad, Chief Ovis is down in Briar doing a public meeting on behalf of the city of Briar for the annexation. So I'm here in his place. I've got quite a few things, and I think that they're important to let you guys know. Last week, Thursday, I know we had an open house at Station 19. 3 of the commissioners were there. Chief wants to say thanks for you guys that showed up. And he said there was about 150 people that came through. And as you know, he always has a really good time associated with that. So that was last Thursday. Another update, we had a consultant by the name of Mike McCall. We've used him in the past. We do this through VFIS, which is our insurance carrier, that gave us in-person harassment, discrimination, and retaliation prevention training. We've utilized him in the past, in the District 1 days. And I think it was very well received by the crews. He did give a chief a written, a small written brief about the work and what he did and what he saw. And he'll be back doing makeups for those that weren't able to attend in person virtually May 30th through the 2nd. And the goal is to get 100% of the workforce through that. And so that went on. Just a quick update. A quick update on the first board meeting I was part of. Or I owe this back to the board is IT, Chris from IT, our IT manager. They did more homework and they found a private consulting group to do a risk assessment and penetration testing for our network. It's been budgeted. It's already budgeted in their budget, about $35,000. And it will take them about 5 weeks from their start date. And that's in progress. Chris, I don't know if you know when the actual start date is, but they plan on having a report by the end of June as a result of that. Another piece of that is we're still continuing with the state audit, except for that got pushed out. And so there'll be more updates when it gets closer to that because it got pushed out a couple months, and I'm sure either CFO Bothwell or Chris will keep us informed of when that's happening and let you guys know. But it looks like it may be early in 2024 and not be in 23 for that. So the other thing that Chief wanted me to make sure we gave you guys an update on is HR has been extremely busy with all the normal functions of HR. And we added some additional FTE in the budget. And I'm just going to give you a quick update of the status of where we are with that. The facility specialist, the interviews have been completed and they expect to do the conditional offer by Thursday. The PIO is currently posted, closes the 30th of April. And so far they have 17 candidates for that position. And they're doing the initial resume reviews are as we speak. Human resources recruiter, currently they have 7 candidates identified for interviews. Those are tentatively scheduled for May 2nd. Human resources director, interviews in progress. 2 candidates are moving to round 2 of interviews, and there's another 3 candidates that are going into the first round of interviews this week. The fall winter academy for 2023, we've got 88 candidates that have completed round 1. And we intend to have additional interviews and oral board interviews the week of the 16th of May. And then we have 2 chaplain candidates with conditional offers. And they're hopefully going to onboard them in May. And then, as you know, we talked about last week, the volunteer firefighter support currently posted, closing on the 30th of May. We currently have 8 candidates. They'll move to initial phone screens of those 8 candidates next week. And then we'll continue with other qualified candidates as they come through the posting. So we're not waiting to the end to move through that process. They're doing that with the candidates we currently have, and we'll continue that way so we can onboard folks sooner than later as we go. So there's 8 for that. And then from staff's perspective, last week, I guess we hold ourselves accountable too. And the meeting, the last part of the meeting last week went long. We did not know from a staff's perspective that they were going to do a PowerPoint, not an excuse. And, for somebody in the board to make comments that this is probably not conversation or topics that should be brought before the board. And from a staff's perspective, that's on us. And we'll work to not let that happen again in the future. So with that, we have no other things in the chief's report, and we'll take any questions.
See both of you again, but is there a particular reason that Briar needs that many meetings versus Monterey is only one person?
Yep.
One time?
Yeah. So as you know, Malt Lake Terrace, in the context of the annexation, is more like Mill Creek. They are going to, lack of a better term, take the money that was paying for the fire contract out of the general fund and not take those revenues next year, right? So they're doing what Mill Creek did and calculating that dollar amount, and they're going to not. It's a give back of $1.6 million in tax revenue from property tax is what the city's committed to as a result of the annexation. Briar's in a different place. Briar, as you know, had Burke and Associates come in and do a financial review of where they are. The city of Briar is not in a position to give any of those funds back for the city to maintain the current operations that they have. And as a result of that, there's been more questions that have been asked. And I will say that at the last 2 meetings that they've had on the topic, they've had 30 or 35 people at each one of those meetings. And they've had an additional question come up after the last meeting of why are they doing it now and not waiting until 24 to do it and get another year under the contract at the rate it's at. And so, and as a result of the work we've been doing with them, and the commitment the city has to make sure that people have, the voters and their citizens have all the appropriate information to make an informed decision, that they felt they needed another meeting tonight to make sure that they did their due diligence in the education of their voters on the ballot measure. And we, Sean, Chief Maxwell, Chief Hovis, and our PIO Hines have been instrumental in those conversations, and they do ask questions about the RFA in those, and it's important that we're there and provide the factual information needed for the citizens of Broward to make an educated, informed on the ballot measure. So that's why. And I will tell you, when we had the first meeting with Montlake Terrace, they had 2 people. The virtual meeting in Montlake Terrace, they had 5. And so it's just a different dynamic. And I think it comes down to the fact that Briar is giving some of the revenue back, or excuse me, Montlake Terrace is giving some of the revenue back, and Briar's in a position financially where they can't.
So how didn't we hire our own educator to get the message out? I never heard about her work.
Who? Liz Loomis?
Yeah.
Liz has been working in the background with both cities also, yes. So she's been working with, we've actually been doing it together. Leslie, there's been several of us that have been working both with the city of Montlake Terrace and Briar. And Liz has been part of those conversations, and Liz has done a lot of things with regards to, the PowerPoint, development of the PowerPoint, a lot of the FAQs, the mailers, the educational mailers, the stuff on the website. She's been doing a lot of that work on the backside, but her role was never to go and be the one that presents the educational information. So
in the past, she always come and give us a presentation to the board and saying what she's going to do. But maybe I missed a meeting. Maybe I was.
No, because
I did not miss any meeting.
Nope. She was doing that on behalf of the cities. And so,
not for us. Okay.
Nope. No, because it's the cities that need to do the work with regards to that. So she's been working, and it's been challenging because the messaging in the city of Montlake Terrace is different than the messaging in the city of Briar because of where the 2 cities are respectively to their finances in those cities. So that's why the 3rd meeting in Briar is between the relationship we have with them and the mayor and the city staff. They wanted to do another meeting to ensure that they answered all the questions they could prior to folks doing the vote.
That's a day. So we got to really work on it. Thank you.
Commissioner Kenny, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Chief Eastman. Thanks for your report. You mentioned HR, and I was curious if you could tell me who is running HR currently.
So, is it Archbright? So we have an agreement with Archbright, which is a consulting firm, and they have provided. They initially started with 1 person 3 days a week. We now have added a second person 2 days a week to help just with all the workload that HR has, and we're down 2 people to do that work. So the gal that was here 3 days a week was their senior, so she has the same credentials as an HR director would have, and helped Hetty and the rest of the staff in HR and kind of be the one where when they had questions they'd confirm things through her, and then she did a lot of help with what an HR director would do. And then the second person we just brought on 2 days a week is helping in the recruitment and some of the other tasks that HR has that they were falling behind just because we're short staffed there. So
who's running HR? Is there a acting director? Is there an interim director? Is there nobody?
So I would say that Hetty, who's our HR manager now, is here every day, and doing the day-to-day work. And if they have questions that are at the director level, they go to Christine, who's the consultant, and then work through Chief Hovis.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Commissioner Teoflot.
Yeah, Chief Eastman, thanks for mentioning the thing about the volunteer firefighters. Because when you invited them up, you were like, well, we'll just, I think you said, sorry to put you on the spot, which means like they weren't expecting to talk, just maybe answer questions. But yeah, I think they just went into a little bit more, too much detail. But yeah, I appreciate your comments.
Well,
Commissioner Chan.
Commissioner Andy, you still have the hands up?
Oh, he said
Oh,
take it down.
no, sorry.
Well, since you mentioned that, I think it is, I appreciate the meeting. I appreciate that really strict out what they think, what they want to do. But I think I'm not blaming all of them. We asked a lot of questions, our commissioner, but that's fine. I don't think we've been restricted by time. You don't need to apologize because time. We're here to solve the issues. We don't watch our clock and say, well, whatever it is, right? Yeah. But I definitely, I got a lot of information, which is good. We haven't been updated for about more than a year. So I thank you for the update.
All right. Anyone else? All right. Thank you. We do have a member of the public, so we're going to go back to public comment. Can you please go ahead and take a seat? Yeah, go ahead and take a seat.
Up here.
Chief Isotelo. Chief Isotelo, can you help her and turn on the mic? And you have 3 minutes, and if you just state your name and then make your statement.
Do I have to press and then it'll be on? It is on. Red is on. Oh, so confusing. Seat feels wet. That was weird. That's fine.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. It's just cold. Oh, okay. Is it on here? Yeah, it is. Okay. Elizabeth Lunsford 98037, and it feels so good to walk in here. I feel good faith. You just did it. You didn't have to do a motion in a second and all contentious. So there is a huge amount of improvement in good faith in this room. I don't know if any of you guys remember me, but I was very advocate and very about getting this created when you guys wanted to become regional things with the votes. Does anybody remember me? I know David over here. Do you guys, anybody remember me? Yep. Anyone? No, 2 times I came here. And then, I came over here, some not so good news, but I want to say, isn't democracy pretty fucking awesome? Right. So I know this is, you guys are elected on here, but is it really representative? Where's the people?
Please watch your language.
Who is trying to tone police me? Because I will not be tone policed. I'm a veteran and I served a fucking war to talk any fucking way I want. So whoever is trying to tone police me, please check yourself. Okay, so sorry about that.
To try and keep the quorum.
I know. I was saying I don't even remember cursing, honestly, because I was giving you guys. I honestly don't even know what he's talking about.
Please mute this person. Please mute.
So who is
you're not running the office? You're not running a meeting.
Okay. So anyways, this is maybe coming onto something. Are you tied to Support 7? That's why I'm here. Because the city of Linwood has corruption. They are a bully. Shannon Session is a bully, and she turned off my mic at a public comment. Her and the city turned off. They have been interrupting me. Support 7 members are fantastic. The group is fantastic. They do great work. But what she is doing is nothing short of corruption and fraudulent. Excuse me, can you guys, do you know Shannon Sessions? Are you guys planning to go to the fundraiser? That she used city resources, asked our chief to use city resources to promote. And last time, yes, she used, and did you guys get the email from Shannon Sessions to promote? And I want to know, why is she saying, hey, don't use uniforms? This is a democracy. I was a veteran. There should be some separation of a church. And I want you guys to take this seriously because there is a pandemic with lots of people freaking dying and whatnot. And if something happened to me, could you imagine the trauma if one of these people come to my door? It's not right. Too many people in positions of power have played democracy like a game of dominoes or chess, and the people are over it. So I hope are you guys okay? I'm writing some body language. You understand what I'm talking about, right? It's a small, small world. And I want to keep that good faith going. And I want you guys to do some digging if we're really serving the people. Because last time I came here, there was a really big issue with the services that you provide with the multilingual in our community. You guys failed. The fire department failed. They weren't able to translate in Spanish. And I don't know the progress of that what happened. I came here and speak about it, so hopefully that came. But right now in religious services, you need to diversify and really look into the corruption of what is Support 7. So if anyone who goes to that fundraiser, I want you to keep your eyes out.
Thank you.
And look for integrity. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Was I recorded the entire time?
Yes, this
Thank
is the
you.
recorded session. Thanks, you too. On to the union report. I don't see anything. Any members? I didn't get any communications for a union report.
I didn't either, but I know President Moore is on duty at Station 12, and my assumption is he's on a call.
No problem. Thank you. On to unfinished business.
Oh, I got my hand up there.
Oh, you go ahead, Commissioner Lawrence.
Yeah, what the heck? I muted her myself on my own computer there. What's our policy? Do we have to listen to that kind of stuff?
It was right at the 3-minute mark when she ended her statement. So, and she's left the room.
Yeah, I mean, do we? In other words, maybe we ask Rich, but I don't think we have that. There is some decorum, that some rules of for the public, and if they go past, start swearing in vulgar language and stuff, that we can just mute them. I guess that's a question for Rich.
Right, we can cover that another time outside of tonight.
Yeah, pretty bizarre. Again, thank you.
No problem. Unfinished business, item A, financial policies, continued discussion and draft resolution with CFO Bothwell.
Good evening, commissioners. At last week's work session, I presented the draft comprehensive financial management policies that we worked with the committee on. We answered some questions at that meeting, and we're back tonight to see if there are any additional questions. The draft policies, the summary of changes, and a draft resolution to adopt the policies are all in your packet. So I'd be happy to answer any questions if there are any.
I don't have anything further than what I emailed you the other day. Anybody else? No. Commissioner Kenny, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Bothwell. I did have a question for you, and that is at page 49 of 64, paragraph 5.2.1, left one medical reserve. And I guess I was thinking back on it and re-looking at the materials. I was surprised that there was no comment from Commissioner Chan about the left one reserve, because usually every year when or not every year, but at the times that we talk about it, usually there is a debate around the left one medical reserve and the large outstanding liability that we have for that versus pay as you go. That's the usual debate that we have about that issue. And so Commissioner Chan didn't say anything, which, thinking back on it now, catches my eye, so to speak. And so I was curious, is that, and I actually don't recall that the 125% was the expenditure, but my memory fails me sometimes. So I wanted to check and see, is that a change from anything we've been doing previously?
Great question, Commissioner. So that was discussed in committee, and Commissioner Chan did bring that up. The policy that's here is based on existing policy. And so what we were trying to do with this first pass is just limit the number of kind of big policy changes that we make in order to get the policies adopted, and then come back during budget season or whenever, commissioners might be interested in the topic and discuss any additional changes. And so that's kind of where we left it in committee. I suspect Commissioner Chan might have something else to say about it, but it was discussed and it did come up. So,
but the 125%, that's the current, that's the status quo.
Yeah,
yes,
that's the status quo.
Okay. And so we'll have that conversation at a later time during budget, or Commissioner Chan, are you conceding?
Yes, they're going to do aren't you going to do the consultant come in, tell us how much it is now? We
get an actuary.
The actuary, actuary.
The actuary does a report. We did receive the report just recently. So we incorporate the results of the report into the annual report for 2022. And so that'll be published. Yeah, it's due to the state in the next like 5 or 6 weeks. Okay. So when we publish that, we'll bring that back to the board. And
do you know the dollar amount now?
I have the report, yeah, but I don't want to misspeak on what it is, what the dollar value is.
Yeah, but I do. I mean, it should be let the public know what is that number in there, and that is our liability. It's kind of like Commissioner Kennedy kind of smiling on that, because one thing I strongly believe, even though somebody kind of discussion, well, that fund is way too generous and all that, but that's what we promised those people. And I'm the person strongly say, if that is a promise, we got to keep the promise, right? So that is my biggest concern. I have seen people, many underfunding situation, underfunding retirement, and I don't want those people to get that. So unfortunately, I don't have Commissioner Matter here joining me, but I would say we have to watch it very carefully, because I don't want, just keep our promise. That's my personal opinion.
And just to that point, Commissioner Chan, when I bring the annual report to you all this year, I'll highlight that liability in the report for you as well.
Okay, thank you.
Liaison Todd, you had your hand up. Did you still?
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to clarify, I'm new to this, but I think that the policy there is about budgeting, not about the amount that's paid. So I think the policy isn't a good one. It's budget at 125 to make sure there's enough money in the budget to cover what the anticipated expenses would be. But this policy has nothing to do with whether we're paying left one at the rate we're paying or not. Is that true?
That is correct. So we are satisfying our obligations to the left one retirees, but we have an actuary that prepares a report that says over the expected lifetime of these folks that are receiving these benefits, this is the liability. And I think Commissioner Chan's point is that we haven't saved that liability. We're doing what Commissioner Kenny noted as pay as you go. So that's what the 125% is. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, let me explain that. What we anticipate, but a lot of time they may go over our anticipation. So eventually more money we'll get into it on the reserve.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay. With that, we will go on to item B, which is the 2023 budget amendments with resolution for action with our favorite CFO.
Thank you. All right. So what we've tried to do over the last year is attach budget amendments to items when we bring them to you, contracts and other things that are unbudgeted. In some instances, that's not really appropriate because we don't know the exact dollar value of what we're asking for. And that's the case with these 3 items. So this is sort of an out of cycle budget amendment for address 3 topics. The first one is Fire Station 22 property acquisition. The second is the retroactive payments to labor that are required under the new labor contract. And the third is a CFP update to include Fire Station 76 in the newly annexed Mill Creek. So I'm just going to walk you through what these are. For Fire Station 22 property acquisition, this is a capital fund budget amendment. The property acquisition was a little over $2.7 million, and that's all the costs just to get the property. There were some post-acquisition costs, and those were associated with demolition of the existing structures, and then testing for hazardous materials in there, and then permitting. That's approximately $50,000. So we're looking for a budget amendment of about $2.8 million to fund that item. The labor contract that was settled last year required that we made some payments to labor for 2021 and 2022 wages. Just as a reminder, they were paid in through 2021 and most of 2022 at 2020 rates of pay. So we owed them some back pay on that, or some retroactive payments. The payment is about a little over $4.5 million that we paid as a result of the new contract. We also had updated labor costs that went into effect on 10/1 of 2022, and that resulted in about a $1.2 million increase in payroll in 2022. So the total was over $5.7 million. We're only looking for $4.5 million because that's what's scheduled. That's what we paid this year. And just for comparison, or just to give you a little background, when we came to you during labor negotiations, we estimated the cost of 21 and 22 to be about $5.6 million. So we're really close to the estimates that we provided during negotiations on that item. And the final item is just a capital facilities plan amendment to include the newly annexed Station 76. And again, this is we didn't know how much this would cost during budget development because we weren't able to get into that facility. But now we know, and the professional services to amend the CFP to include that station are about $25,000. So that's what's in this budget amendment. We are asking you to consider taking action on this item tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
And the action is for the 25,000?
No, the action is for all of it, all
Yeah.
three pieces.
Which total?
$5.some million.
Okay. Just want to make sure I understood what the request was.
It's a huge amount.
Yeah,
Commissioner.
it's 4.5 in the general fund, and then the property acquisition at 2.8 plus the $25,000 in the capital fund.
Can you total it up?
Yes. The total for the capital fund is $2.84 million, and the total for the general fund is 4.05. So the total together.
In the meantime, Commissioner Kenny, you have your hand up.
Yes, but I'll let Mr. Bothwell finish there before
Okay.
I answer the question.
It's $7.345 million total.
Okay, yes, Mr. Bothwell, I had a question for you, and I think you may have actually answered this before, but I do want to be sure I get this out there on the record. And it just goes, it's a piece of the retro payments. And I understand that that's what we're paying on the retro payments. I just wanted to confirm, I think you said it previously. I wanted to ask about the retro payments in relation to the contract cities. Have they paid their portion of the retro payments?
So we're preparing to bill them for that. We have there's the two contracts actually that between the DCs, and they have the separate contract, and then the main contract. We paid retro on the main contract. We are about to push the button to pay on the DC contract, which does impact some of the contract cities. And so we're prepared to bill them. We gave them estimates during budget development, and we should have bills out. I committed to having them out by the end of the month to the contract cities, and that will recoup about 22% of the retro that we're paying.
22% of our overall cost?
Correct.
And is that the full amount of their cost, or is this a a payment, an installment on a payment plan for them?
No,
that's everything that they would owe.
Yeah.
So there's no installment. Yeah.
Okay. And you would anticipate that they would be fully paid on the piece of the retro that they owned by, if you're have to look into your crystal ball, by when?
Well, it's 4 years to go.
By the end of the second quarter.
Okay. That sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Chan, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I think that's what we discussed. You remember CFO coming to us, and last year was $2 million under budget. In reality, if you're truly using accrue basis and truly accounting for, that means actually we're over budget in the last year, because now we're paying, those money should have been accrued as expenses into related 2022, versus now we've been using it here. Now, I will still support this because we do have $30 million. We have some money in the capital facility plan. So the money taken from the capital facility plan, as I think we have the reserve for it, now being using it. But that the dollar amount for the cost of the adjustment, that is a huge amount. So, so I just want to kind of point out, that's why in general accepting accounting principle, if we accrue, then we know exactly. So we did spend more money than we budget than last year. Thank you.
Any other? Commissioner Teoflock.
What's the the $25,000 cost for the capital facilities plan update?
Yeah, so the capital facilities plan lists all of our various fire stations, headquarters, all of our facilities. So we just, and it plans for the future of those. So some are going to be replaced, some are being remodeled, whatever they need. So 76 isn't in there because we didn't have it last year during the last update. And so we just need to get back in, open the plan up, get 76 in there, and figure out what the needs are associated with that and plan for those, the financial future of that building as well.
And the other piece of that is we brought this back to the board, I want to say June or July of last year, to incorporate it. And we tried to do it last year. We couldn't get in because of where things were at. We couldn't actually get into 76 to do the work to incorporate in the facilities plan. So this is something we talked about in 2022, and our goal was to do it in 2022. And we just didn't get in the building, and now and it didn't make the 2023 budget because we thought we were going to do it in 2022 before the end of the year and didn't. So that's why we're bringing it forward. Is we had this conversation. You guys approved to do it once before. We didn't get it done because we didn't have the building and all those other logistical pieces go along with it. And this is to have TCA come in with the engineers and do the same work they've done with their existing fire stations and include it into the facilities plan. Hopefully soon, as we move into the conversations about the facilities plan and where do we go and how do we do, we want to make sure we have that information. So when we have the conversation, we're looking at it in totality.
For the capital facilities plan, is it a document that we are maintaining? So who is the $25,000 going to?
So TCA, so the group that the folks that did our facility plan, so they will do the same thing they did and incorporate it into the existing document. So they'll do, I'm not exactly sure how they're going to, it'll probably be an appendix to add 76 to, and then they'll probably we'll update the Gantt charts and some of the other things associated with it in the timeline work. So it'll be added to where the goal being is included, just like all our other stations, and be seamless. So that'll be the update. And it's TCA, Brian Harris being the principal, will be the one that will lead the work and do that.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I just want to emphasizing, I think we need to, I know we're busy with the annexation and everything else. I think we really need to have the discussion on capital facility plan, especially like Station 76 or any other thing. Anything that is, I do not want to see it again, like Station 11, the walls leaking and all that. So we really need to, what are the backfill station at the really good, strong, critical discussions on that, and how much money we need to spend and whatever repair, even Lake Shireen, right? We talk about that station for 6-7 years already. I'm kind of running out of patience because not knowing that, I think we need to treat our staff right? I don't want to be cold, I don't know, too cold or not comfortable and whatever, right? So we need to really really get all the prepared maintenance done. And also what we need next year, right, for the light rail coming in, I think we need I know our agenda has been really light, but these are important issues we need to talk about and get it done.
Yeah,
Right?
and I think staff's preparing to bring something for the work session in May.
Right.
I know we're having preliminary budget conversations too, but staff's working based on the conversation we had in March, is to bring something for the work session in May, and I'm sure that'll be the start of the conversation that will go multiple meetings.
Right. Then on top of that, we do want to get the budget discussion, somehow get it going before wait until October, September, right? So that's why we need to work with the chair to get in the sections in there too. You remember the whole suggestion from our policy anyway. It is our policy on the whole budgeting process, started early. Yeah.
Thank you. The chair would like to entertain a motion to consider adoption of a resolution to amend the general fund and capital fund budgets in the amount of $7.345 million. Moved by Commissioner Teoflack. Is there a second? Seconded by Commissioner Lawrence. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. All right. Motion carries.
Did we want to vote on the previous thing that?
That was a discussion.
Gotcha. Okay. The policies.
The first item was policies. Was a continued discussion.
Okay. Gotcha.
Draft resolution.
Gotcha.
No action at this time. On to new business. Resolution recognizing Volunteer Week for action with the AC Eastman, and that's the only one in the room.
So I'm actually going to speak on behalf of Shawnery Guzman and Leslie Hines, who work directly with at least the fire corps side, and they do a lot of work with our volunteer firefighter support group in what they do. And neither one, obviously Leslie's and Breyer and Shawnery wasn't able to be here tonight. So I'm doing this on their behalf because and Leslie and Shawnery actually drafted the resolution that's before you. It's on page 63 of your packet. I know just in talking to Shawnery and Leslie that that they couldn't do everything they do without the volunteers that we have both in the volunteer firefighter support group and our fire corps. The one thing I did learn today that I didn't know is that we currently have 14 fire corps volunteers. We're currently in processing 14 more. So that group has been very, very busy, and we get a really good diverse group of folks that bring a lot of talent and want to give back to the community, and they're using us as a way to do that. And Shawnery, Leslie, and the rest of the team utilize them in a way that is exceptional. And I don't know all the things that they have. We'd be here a long time, but they do, and what they bring to the table is quite diverse. And you met a few of them last week at dinner. And I guess with that, I present to you the resolution and proclamation to recognize our volunteers as part of National Volunteer Week for the board to consider and ratify tonight.
I'm going to make a motion, and then the discussion. I think motion to adopt the volunteer. For the volunteer adoptions of National Volunteer Week resolution.
All right, so moved by Commissioner Chan and second by Commissioner Teoflack for the adoption of National Volunteer Week. Oh man,
Do you want to read the whole thing?
It's been moved by Commissioner Chan and seconded by Commissioner Teoflack for the adoption of the National Volunteer Week resolution. And it looks like resolution number 04182023-13. All those in favor? Or
Well, we have a discussion
rather.
first.
Go ahead. You wanted to have a discussion?
Yeah, I just want to emphasizing that exactly what you say, that the volunteer, this is really important. Commissioner Fernhoff probably loved that because I think we did a big discussion during the Cascade Rising. And those volunteers, they were basically go and map out the neighborhoods and everything else. They have the hats and they will be the people that will be ready for the neighborhood. So we do want to encouraging them to spread out the neighborhood to kind of like the neighborhood watch type of thing. So I definitely appreciate this volunteer. And you said I met many of them, and they are really qualified, a lot of professional nurses and that type of thing, and do that. And that, I hope it never happened, but if it happens, we're ready.
Any further discussion? All right, let's move to a vote. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you, Chair.
On to committee updates. Bylaws. Commissioner Kenny with Vice Chair Rowland not here. Do you have any updates on the bylaws committee?
Yes, I think we want to most likely come back if possible at the first meeting of May. So that's our next meeting with the changes that we talked about last week, and we will get hasn't been done yet, but we'll get legal review from Rich Davis, and then have that back for another consideration by the board and possible action. Of course, it could roll to another meeting after that if the board has more questions or concerns. But I think we'll be ready for the next meeting if there is a room on the agenda. And that's all I've got.
All right, thank you. Liaison Todd, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thank you. I apologize. I missed the discussion last week. Something that occurred to me in reviewing the minutes, practice that Mill Creek is used and the agency is not using, and it particularly affects me, and I feel badly for it. Maybe it's part of our bylaws, maybe it's part of our rules of order, maybe it's part of something that that Melissa does for us. But I would suggest that we take up the practice of noting when someone arrives and someone leaves in the attendance, so that I'm not listed as being there for the whole meeting if I wasn't there. That's not really appropriate that I was there. In my case, I don't vote, so it doesn't affect the votes. But I would suggest for your consideration, you think about how that might fit into the bylaws or the rules of order. I will say in a time long past in Mill Creek, we had an issue where someone would be there for the first part of the meeting and then leave. And it was important to note in the minutes when they'd left so that we understood who was involved in the discussion or not. So just offering that for your consideration. Thank you.
Is that something where if we just had a practice that the administrative assistant to the board noted that in the minutes as opposed to something that's in the bylaws, but we understood that was a practice that was going to be exercised? Because I actually agree with you that should, although it's hard to do now that we've got more people, we should be noting when people come and go, and that because it makes a difference. Do you think it's necessary to go all the way to that fully in the bylaws?
I don't know if it needs to go in the bylaws necessarily. I will, without getting too into detail, I know we had an issue where someone would arrive for the meeting, so they were not counted as absent. But then we ran into issues with how many meetings were they absent for, because they came for a few minutes and then left. And so it was good to be able to refer to the meeting minutes that they were there for the roll call 6 o'clock and they left at 6:10. So it was useful to have that. So I'm just saying you might consider that. You're not at that place, but sometimes putting in the rules ahead of time is advantageous just to keep everybody on their best behavior long term. Thanks.
Right. Okay. We'll definitely take that under advisement.
At bare minimum, best practice, right? Thank you. Snow 911. So we had finance committee. We got our results back from Moss Adams, Commissioner Chan. Oh. And so I can share that with you after the meeting, some of those findings. And we have our regular meeting coming up here on Thursday. So intergovernmental with Commissioner Farnahoff.
Yeah, we have the chief right now, along with Leslie and Chief Maxwell are back at Briar for a third session, discussing the options there. And then we have elections coming up next Tuesday, if that's right. And no other big milestones, right?
Staff is presenting to the staff's portion of the annual report to the city of Edmonds Tuesday night.
And that concludes my report.
All right, thank you. And Finance Committee with Commissioner Chan.
Yeah, we all talk about during the meeting already.
Okay.
Thank you.
Perfect. And Commissioner comments.
So if you don't mind, Chair, I forgot to bring this up in the truth report. I want to let the board know that Sheriff Fortney is in agreement for what we've done in the past of having officers be a presence to deter the use of fireworks in the banned area. We are working, and I've got an updated ILA, which is the exact same ILA that we used in previous years. It wasn't ready to bring. I got it on yesterday morning, working through it, but I would anticipate senior staff and the folks that have been part of this in the past feel we should be doing and have a presence for deterring the discharge of fireworks in the banned area. Although we also know some of the challenges with writing tickets and the prosecuting attorney's office and all those other pieces that we've talked about, but we still feel that having that presence is important as we continue to go down the conversation that we're going to have with the county with regards to banning the sale and all the things associated with that. And I'm seeing head nods from the majority of the commissioners, which we're going to pursue that, but I would anticipate that we would bring you that ILA, and I would ask, we usually try to give you two shots at it, but I'd like to be able to bring that forward to you guys at the next meeting in May, and have you consider taking action on it. It's very similar to what it's not changed. So we can move forward with getting it scheduled and get ahead of the curve, and work with the fire marshal's office, Shawnery and Leslie, of what worked in years past and where we get the best bang for the buck, so to speak, and then move forward with that and make it so. And I just wanted to make sure, I apologize we didn't get to you sooner, but I think as we move forward with this, the sooner we get it done, the better. So I would ask, we'll bring that forward for consideration, and hopefully you guys will take action on it the first meeting of May.
Thank you, Chief Eastman. Commissioner Lawrence, you have your hand up.
Yeah, my memory tells me that we kind of decided as the board and the staff, it was pointless to do that anything unless the prosecutor's going to prosecute and the sheriff's or deputy is going to write tickets. So, yeah, that's all.
Thank you. Any other commissioner comments? Commissioner Chan and then Commissioner Teal.
Yeah, I just want to look right into Chief Eastman and Chief Azatola. I really appreciate you guys. Boy, you guys have been holding the fort. I really appreciate this. And I also appreciate that you exactly what you're saying, the timing of it. We this year we really push it, getting the attention right away, and we got testimony from our residents. And I think I kind of agree with Commissioner Lawrence, that hopefully we got the message out. Somebody got a ticket in the newspaper. So that means this law we're serious about it. It's not just jaywalking. And if you don't have any kind of enforcement, people will ignore it. So I really hope, I assume that the sheriff understand the whole thing behind. We're willing, to pay extra money and everything else in there.
Yeah, Chief Hovis and the sheriff have had conversations about this, and I'm just setting realistic expectations.
Right.
It's a civil unless something else happens, and we know some of the challenges that they've had. But as we continue to go and have these conversations from staff's perspective, if we're working with the staff of the county council folks, for us to be able to say we're actually skin in the game and we actually are paying for enforcement for a county band, there's some conversations to be had that may allow us more traction to get what our ultimate goal is, which is banning the sales, right? Because I think we all would agree, if we ban the sale, it's going to reduce the discharge of fireworks because people can't go buy them. I mean, that whole thing that we've talked about. So, you know, we'll continue to work with the sheriff's office. Obviously, we'll work so they enforce appropriately. But at the same time, we all know the challenges that the backlog and all those other pieces that are real. You know, I want to make sure we set the expectation and not over commit to things that we don't necessarily control what's going to happen. So, but we've got a commitment differently, I think, from the sheriff than we've had in years past, which is encouraging for us. And we should continue to go down that path in staff's position. And it looks like the majority of the board concurs, and obviously we'll be smart in how we do it. And like I said, Shawnery, Leslie, and the fire marshal's office know where we need to put our best foot forward and where we get the best impact. And we'll from a staff perspective continue our due diligence in that process.
No, I think that we do our best. So that's why I want to know the public have hand in hand with us, get this thing done. So they expect us many times that we are doing something to lead that. Again, I appreciate very much.
Thank you. Commissioner Teoflack and then Commissioner Kenny.
So Mountain Terrace and Briar, they have their ballots already, is that right?
Yeah, I think the ballots were mailed on the 7th of April.
Cool. And then we'll get results like the day after, or I guess that night.
So we'll know between 8:10 and 8:15 usually.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll be in Edmonds, but I guarantee you all hear me.
Celebrating? Hopefully.
One way or the other.
Okay. Thanks.
Commissioner Kenny, you have your hand up.
Yeah, Chief Eastman, I just wanted to say that that's great news from the sheriff, and I fully support spending the funds to get the sheriff's deputies on overtime. It all starts with sheriff's office enforcement, and we didn't have it last summer. We did the summer before. There were a lot of contacts by, as I recall the stats, there were a lot of contacts by our law enforcement partners. There were no citations. It all starts there. And if we get them on board, then we're in a position to have a conversation with the prosecutor's office before July 4th about, getting them committed also. Because the bottom line is they are the prosecutorial entity at all levels, felony and misdemeanor, for the unincorporated areas of this county. And they owe a responsibility to our unincorporated community as much as we do. They can't throw up their hands and just ignore it. I understand it's not, a huge crime, or it's not a crime. It may not be as big an issue to them, but they still have a responsibility on this issue. But we can't really make much in the way of arguments to them unless we have law enforcement generating reports off of contacts with folks. So I think it's a great place to start and allows us to continue the conversation. And it's one piece of our multi-pronged approach to July 4th. And I just fully support that. Thank you.
Thank you. And any other commissioners? All right, Commissioner Lawrence, you still have your hand up. Was that intentional? All right. Thank you. With that, I will go ahead and adjourn the meeting at 7:59.
Thank you.